Flashback to warm nights almost left behind. A suitcase.
We're listening to Shana Tucker, who hasn't joined us yet.
Sometimes you'll picture me, I'm walking.
The lovely woman in the white shirt is Lenora Helms. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say your whole
Oh,
name.
that's totally fine.
Okay. I didn't practice your middle name. And then the other lovely woman is Kate McGarry.
Next to you, Shana. She's
time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Time after
She had to update her Zoom link.
What did you say?
She had to update her Zoom link.
right. Let's see what it is.
my picture fades and darkness has turned to gray.
This was my favorite Shana
No.
remake.
Share the screen.
I put my name in there so that you can.
From so deep inside, the drum beats out of time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting time after time. Time after time after time after time. Slow, I fall behind. The second hand unwinds. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting time after time. Time after time. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me where. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting where. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me where. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting where. After time after time. After time after time. After time after time. After time after time. Okay, we're gonna keep going. You guys at home, sing it with me. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me where. Time after time. Time after time. Time after time. I can't hear you guys with time after time. Time after time after time.
What a sweetheart. She's a
Hey, Kat, she's
sweetheart.
in the waiting room.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, hold on. Hi, Shana. Are you in the waiting room?
Hey, I'm in the waiting room.
Okay, I'm letting you in right now. Hi.
What's up, everybody?
Hi, Shana.
Can
That
you
was
hear me
fun.
okay?
How are you?
Thumbs up if you can hear me, because I can't hear you.
Oh, that's
Yes, that was Kate. That was Kate at first. We couldn't hear her.
Yeah.
You go to the bottom and choose the sound. Yes, that was.
good.
Kate, do you have any recommendations for her?
I can hear you now.
Oh, good.
It comes
You
in.
know, technology.
Yay! Like between the last 4 minutes, I sent an email. I texted all three of you. I suggested that somebody tell you that I'm here in the chat. And look, we did all of this, and we're like bi-coastal.
I
Look
know,
at all
like
of that. Oh my gosh, we're winning.
Sorry, I think when I shared my screen, I didn't notice that you were waiting.
I'm here now.
Yes. All right.
Yay.
This is Shana Tucker. We just saw her and heard her do it time after time.
that was so funny. I loved at the end, like you were.
That was great. What a great idea.
This is like what we had to do in our social distancing way. You know, the ask was, can you give a concert that we will premiere for this festival this summer for Appalachian State Summer Festival? And I was like, sure, but we needed, like, that song for me has call and response. And I was like, what am I, like, my band, I was like, if you lost, you where? And they're like, I'm like, that's not good enough. So then one of them was like, we should sit in the audience and do some B-roll. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So there you go.
Love that. That was hysterical.
Person Shana is. Do I need to make B-roll of myself in the audience singing? Yes.
We couldn't get anybody else. I wanted to like make it full, you know?
That was
Oh,
great.
funny.
That was great. So you guys all live in the same area, right?
Durham.
Yep.
Ready, Durham. Ready,
Bull
Durham.
City. I'm very new. I guess I should say I'm new to Durham again. I'm returning to Durham as of last weekend. I like this last weekend was moving weekend for me back to Durham. So
Where were you
yay!
living? Wait, were you living where you weren't in New York, were you?
No, I was all the way in Raleigh, 20 minutes from Durham, but it's a very different city.
Wow.
Night and day. Yeah,
Really?
it's night and day. Yes.
In what
Yeah.
way?
Vibe. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I can tell you that for me, so when you go to Durham from Raleigh, you have to take Highway 147, and there's a bridge that goes over that has blue lights. And I promise you, for me, it is like I can exhale like fully whenever I go under that bridge. And when I leave and I have to go over the bridge to leave Durham, I'm like, all right, here we go. Here we go.
Huh.
Not from a safety perspective, but just like, because it is a very different vibe, creatively, artistically, socially. For me, I feel way at home and exhale friendly in Durham.
Huh. Do you got Lenora and Kate? You feel the same?
100%. It's like I lived in New York 20 years, and Durham, like when I come to Durham, I feel like, oh yeah. I'm like in West Village, or I'm in Brooklyn, or I'm in Harlem, but not Queens. Like Raleigh feels like Queens.
Yeah, or Staten Island.
It's like
Staten
different.
Island. Oops.
Sorry.
Sorry, Staten Island.
Kate, you feel the same?
Yeah, I never really spent spent a lot of time in Raleigh, except for Moral Monday protests. But it just it just always had kind of a little bit of a Squaresville vibe, and I don't know, just more uptight. And coming from, well, I grew up in Cape Cod and lived in Boston for a while, and it's sort of, I don't know, something about it sort of a little bit more reminded me of Boston in terms of the the there was a little bit more of a rigidity in some way. I don't know even know how I felt that, but yeah.
Yeah.
But Durham just has always felt like very relaxed and welcome, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Tierney's here, but she
Yeah,
has to go to a rehearsal, so she said she'll savor this later.
Tierney, I can't wait to meet you. Oh my gosh, it's been so long. I keep trying one day.
You will. She gets around, that girl. So Shana has to leave after an hour or a little less, and so we're going to focus a little bit more on Shana. But Kate and Lenora, obviously you're here, and just speak up. I haven't actually done one with with four of us all together. I've done 3 people, but this is one extra.
Thanks for, because was talking to me and saying, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" I was like, "Yeah, but what I want to do is see if, because there's amazing singers in this community that I want to introduce people and whatever." So I you had met Shauna before, but not Miss Lenora. So I just thought if we all came on together, we'd be representing Durham. And thanks for accommodating that.
Good idea. So Shauna, baby girl.
Yes.
You're so cool. And it's just, I'll just speak for myself. When I saw you, perform, I was just fell in love with you. I'm not the only person, absolutely, because I heard it a lot. But you have such a life force when you perform. It's really beautiful. You're singing, you're writing, you're playing. Just your person, it's just there, and it's, to me, and I'm sure to you guys too, it's just what a performer is supposed to be. It's it fills you up.
I'm trying to adhere to the realities of Zoom in the latency, and I want to be like, thank you, but then how Zoom cuts off. So I'm waiting until you cadence so that I can respond. Should I respond now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So the last time I saw you was in early February, before we knew any of the world was going to turn the way that it did. And I was so happy to see you at my show, because I just respect you, and I love your music, and I love the projects that I hear, because a very good mutual friend of ours, Benny Maupin, he was one of the first people that spoke your name, and he said, "I need you to meet Cathy." And I was like, okay, all right, you said it, let's do it. Right. And so just to be able to to speak to you in these little moments and pockets, and to know and to hear how you feel about my music, just I'm only 5'2", but suddenly I'm 7'2". What? It means a lot. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And so you started singing. Were you always a singer as well? Or my impression is that you started on the cello a long time ago. Was that true, or were you singing as well?
I was playing cello a long time before I started singing out loud, or publicly. My house is a house of silly songs. And so we just, the thing that I remember the most is my mom, bless her heart, she does many, many things well, but she is a sustainable chef. She's sustenance, it's function. It's not inspired eating. It's just here's some rice, here, eat, And so every once in a while, it'd be really good. And my brother and I would be like, all right, it's time to say the blessing. And we would be like this and be like, Heavenly Father, we thank thee for this food and the nourishment for our bodies. Sing it. Amen. You know, it just cutting up, just wrong. You know, my mother would roll her eyes and she'd be like, whatever, you know, but I know inside she'd be like, they kind of like my cooking. So, but she would sing silly songs too. Like she would wake us up in the morning and like be like, oh, how I hate to get up in the morning. And she'd be marching, mommy's mean, she's not nice, and her fingers are like ice. And they'd be really cold and she'd put them on us, you know? So like that was like our thing. Like we just always were singing, but it wasn't a public thing until like maybe high school, when I started thinking about how am I going to go to college, because we don't have no money. So maybe, you know, all county, all state, all Eastern, all the alls might result in some type of scholarship. And actually, Cathy, let me just tell you this real quick. I'm going to tell everybody that's listening. So I met Lenora when I was in DC, and I feel like I was like maybe first or second year at Howard, because I remember knowing of you in the community, Zenzalai.
Oh.
I remember when you were like a jazz ambassador and you would like come to your performances. I'm going like this because she would just kind of float. Like she has this beautiful dress and just kind of float into the place and just like do her thing. And I'd be like, oh, it's possible to do it. Is she real? I'm gonna touch. I remember DC, like you are a part of my life thread as a musician from DC life. So there, didn't know that, did you?
No, I didn't. It's so funny.
It was a long time ago.
That is a 19 boo.
No. It was in the 90s.
Time anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. That was kind of when I started singing, was in DC, because I was in a group called Hugh, and we had to. Do you remember Hugh? Yeah, we had this. It was strings and piano, and we all sang and we all harmonized. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. I can like sing and play cello at the same time. Oh, I can like write about stuff my stuff. Like, oh, people are clapping. This is great. So yeah.
So that's how you started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so your career seems like, to me, it seems like you are getting more and more known, doesn't it? Kate's nodding.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I feel like people actually know your name, you know, and and they know what you do, which is really
it's
an acknowledgement. Yeah.
I feel like I'm happy to see the nods from people that I look up to, from my peers. Like I'm happy that I can like comfortably and not in a shy way say, oh, I see my musical peers nodding.
Yeah.
It still kind of fangirls me a little bit. I'm like, be cool. Yes, Cathy. Yes, I feel people are speaking about me, and no, but I think it has a lot to do with being at ground zero, you know, like when you're doing it and you're just like, all right, we got another album that, oh, wow, 10 years has gone past. It's time for another album, or someone called about a collaboration, or so, you know, the doing it feels like it's a constant doing. And for me, it feels like a continuum, not like a doing. So the doing, like the progressive awareness of, oh, is like the people who call and they're like, hey, I need cello on this, or, hey, would you like to be on this lineup? Or is this a gig? And then I'm like, can I see the lineup? And they're like, yeah, sure. And I see it. I'm like,
yes,
be cool.
I'm available.
Right.
Well, that's something I find fascinating in talking to people. I mean, it's not like I didn't know this already, but it's great to talk to people who are doing what they want to be doing, right? So they're successful in that way. And whatever their story is about how they came up, whether their teacher said, don't ever sing again, or yeah, sing, whether or not it started off that way, they seem to be open for opportunities that came along, and they put one foot in front of the other, and they kept walking, and I mean, do you see that as, do you think that people do that more or less in their lives?
The people that I know well enough to like be speaking about this as, as an observation or a noticing.
Yeah.
It seems like the one foot in front of the other, that seems to be my tribe of this, because I've been around, I've been in environments where the reliability or relying on someone to hook you up, or someone to call someone who calls someone, or name dropping I've observed that is not as long lasting, because I feel like I won't say it's not as much of an investment. I feel like that's a little judgy, but I will say that the investment is different. When you are doing what you're meant to be doing, and the quality is there, and the authenticity and the intention is there, people notice. Your tribe notices. Your tribe of colleagues notice. Your audience notices. And people, what resonates most with everybody is why you're doing it, not necessarily what you're doing it, because the what changes. I never in a million years would think that like I would seriously consider a children's album, because like my one foot in front of the other was constantly like, okay, I'm a jazz artist. I still got to try that on and make that kind of fit like right, because for me chamber soul like is like totally chamber soul. I know what that is. I know what that feels like. It's cello, it's improvisation, it's kind of classical but also pop and a little jazz and a little folk, and like it's all this stuff. That is like that's my soul,
Yeah.
But I think that kids, I've been doing a lot of teaching artist work, a lot. And I work with kids as little as pre-K all the way up through, university level. And this little group of K-8, we write songs that I told you, songs about belly buttons and brushing teeth and, food being good. And I don't like cake, like just, so it makes sense to me that I can authentically write a whole album's worth of kids music that kids will enjoy, but also adults too, because I have a 19-year-old now, and I used to hate Barney when he was little, and the Wiggles. I'm just saying, he'd be like, I want to hear that again. And I'm like, so we got to write music for the parents, we got to write it for the parents too. But I guess I'm saying all of that to say, when you're doing what you're meant to do, the one foot in front of the other, the biggest hurdle doesn't become if you're going to be successful. The biggest hurdle for me now is taking time to slow down and appreciate the big things that I just did, like reflect on that thing. You just did a really big thing. Like, what would you do differently? What would you do the same? And appreciate it. And then move on to the next thing, because the things that you're doing just keep getting bigger and more.
It's a process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I feel like I should ask Lenora and Kate the same question, because it's an important question, and I'd like to get your viewpoints too.
Yeah.
Which one of you ladies would like to answer?
Well, I so agree with so much of what Shana said, because it's one foot in front of the other. But when it happens that it's one foot in front of the other, when you get over yourself and you realize that it's about the music and the work, And then you don't, I mean, I used to love the floaty gowns. So like I would have someone make them for me, you know, and then one day, I don't know when it happened, but then one day I realized, look, I probably when I came to teach at the university at NCCU, because then I saw myself in the students and they were in anxiety about, oh my God, I'm going to mess up this audition, or like just frozen in fear. And I thought, we do that to people in music, like they're on a path to follow their dream and they are frozen in fear. That's horrible, you know? And so I think then I started to unpeel that layer of, you know, oh, it's about me on the stage or the things I'm doing. And another thing about me, and yes, another thing about before you came on, I love your website because you see the person, you see the artist in you, and you see the what you feel like music is a point of in our lives, that you're a musician, you're like a healer, a teacher, you know, the music path is more spiritual at that point and more organic. And then it's one foot in front of the other. And then you get collaboration. And then you understand. Then you look at your peers and you're so happy for them. Like I remember calling Kate and go, oh man, that's badass. You got another nomination. Yes. You know. And you're genuinely happy because you see the field, you see all of us, any one of us elevating and moving forward and blossoming is one of us is all of us. And then it's one foot in front of the other. And it's a whole different experience.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Thank you. And Kate McGarry.
Well, y'all said most anything that I would say. I guess for me there was a point, I think, early on in my career or in my path with music where I did have this idea that there was going to be, you know, a big break and then it would look like X, Y, Z, and there was just like, I guess it's that Zen thing of the slow wearing down you know, of the rock or the rough places on the rock by the water. And that water is just the daily, you know, how ridiculously crazy hard this job is and how like undoable it is. You know, it's just never done. You know, and there's just so many things about it that are so sort of not, you know, just everything is not optimal. You know what I mean? So when you live in that and you keep finding that there's something in you that wants to express and that wants to um, put an idea down and wants to like slowly, that became it was clear, like, oh, that is what this life is. It is that joy of putting out this next idea, like being able to sing something that I'm feeling and feel like, yes, that reflects what I was feeling, or to, you know, make an arrangement, or to do, you know, write a song or do something. And the experiences themselves, the fullness of that was like, oh, that's what it is. It's not getting into this venue or being up, you know, or doing this or doing that. And when that happened, it was sort of a big relief because it's basically kind of just like saying yes to the life that you have, and yes to what is the best place to be. And then that was it. Just kind of when that happened, it was sort of that feeling of like I wasn't doing it right, or I should be somewhere else, and all that stuff like just kind of fell away. And then I felt like I could really enjoy and also really start to blossom more because I was with myself instead of somewhere projecting out onto something that I thought I was supposed to be doing or sounding like or looking like, you know. And so I'm happy to have those, whatever, it's really almost 40 years since my first professional gig, and to have that all that time to be like, oh, wow, this, you know, this life, how it is it's just, it's beautiful, it's fine, you know. And it is a one foot in front of the other, and that slowness, it gives you time to keep reflecting, going, wait, do I want this foot to keep going the same way it was going, or maybe it's time to go this way now, you know. So yeah, that's
Thank you. Well,
I want to.
oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say really quickly, as my friends are talking, I'm reminded of the word Ubuntu. I am because we are, and it's such a beautiful reminder of everything that Lenora and Kate were just saying about, you know, when you are in the moment and you are living as you should be, the happiness that comes from that space of like, wow, like you can appreciate, like, not even so much like I did that, you know, you're not trying to like pop your collar or anything like that. It's just like, it is possible to be happy knowing that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing at this moment because it is so. Right. You know, we don't, I just kind of glossed over the fact that, like, you know, there is a 10-year gap between when I first released my only CD, Shine, and now. And the only reason why it's important to me to release a second album is because I feel like it's time. And I think 10 years is good. And I've lived a lot of life and I have a lot to say. And what I have to say is very different now as Shana 10 years older, you know. Not that I wasn't an adult before, but I'm like more of an adult. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I was actually going to talk about your songwriting, because your songwriting is very revealing and personal. You know? So 10 years makes, wow, that's a big difference.
It's a big difference, especially when the industry is constantly trying to tell you that, you know, you gotta stay fresh, you gotta stay relevant, you gotta. And I don't feel like, I mean, right now in this sort of like purgatorial, like pause in terms of performance and touring, I don't feel like I'm defying odds by only having one CD out, because I collaborate a lot and I do a lot, and the relevance of the songs, like one of the most important parts of songwriting for me is honesty and relaying the human condition. I'm not the only person that, you know, that has experienced this thing. And I may have there might be some specifics, but, you know, for the most part, I feel like it's our job as songwriters to tell everybody's story. It's just that we have like a superpower to say it in a way that resonates with more than just ourselves. That's it. I mean, to me, that's all it is. And some people, that we don't, I mean, there's a reason why songs like "I Want to Know What Love Is," you know, and then everybody's like, "Sing it! I want you to show." You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why that. Like, there's all these the minutia reasons why that works in the melody and, you know, in the simplicity or the complex simplicity. But it's the same kind of thing. Like with Bill Withers is my favorite songwriter.
Oh, yeah. So many people love Bill Withers, right? Wow.
Because human condition all day, you know, and he makes it plain, but the way that he makes it plain is so complex that nobody, I haven't found anybody that can do it better than him. I just don't. I mean, that's just my own personal opinion. I just, you know, I like a lot of different songwriters for a lot of different reasons, but the make it plain and this complex simplicity, there's a gift. He's a superhero, you know?
Well, you know, I hate to say this, but I don't hate to say it, but the reason I was a deadhead was because one more Saturday night meant so much. It wasn't just one more Saturday night. It was one more Saturday. I mean, it had so much depth to it. So it really, we're empaths, right? And we are soaking up what's around us and putting out what's going on around us in our own way. I mean, sometimes I've thought, oh, if we were on a different planet, we would actually be revered for our position of power in that way. We would be reflecting what the people were going through so that people could be helped. And right.
Yeah.
That's a different planet.
Yeah. It's a different one.
This planet, you know, we just have to play the patriarchy dragon, and
Wow. That's a mouthful right there.
Well, Cathy, I want to ask Kate something. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So Kate, I remember being at a show. I think this is probably the only show that I was playing cello on a song that you were singing, which was wonderful. It was "Hiding in the Light," Christian Tambour's song. And you said you played a song. You sang a song there that you said was the first song you wrote, and it was like, it wasn't that long ago. And I'm like, how come you write music like you've been writing your entire life? And you talking about some daggone, this song is kind of new and I've only written. And what are you talking about? Your songs are like saga, fantasticness.
Oh, that's so funny that you said that.
What about your process?
What that song was, but I'm not prolific, and I think there's a part of me, I'm still really trying to wrangle with this, Shana, is just that I don't know what it is, but it is difficult for me to give myself the gift of time at the piano for writing, and also like to allow whatever, you know, myself to just to write a song. Like, it feels like it has to like come down like a lightning bolt from above. So I mean, maybe I have, you know, whatever. I just don't have very many songs, and they come out once every 3 or 4 years, and
Girl.
It takes a really long time to even get them, you know, so that I can get it out onto a piece of paper and have somebody play it. So I don't know what that is, but I'm still, you know, I'm 57, and I've got, you know, hopefully another 20 or 30 years. I'm hoping by the time I lay my head down in the grave, I will have figured that out, and that will feel like a flowing river that's, you know, easier.
Well, I tell you what, if they come out every 10 years and they come out like the way you write songs, I'll wait. Because your songs are fantastic.
Yeah.
They truly are.
Speaking of songs, Shana, can we hear, if I go to YouTube, could we hear one of your songs?
Yeah. Do you have, should I choose one, or are you going to do like roulette?
Yeah, I think you should choose one. I'm
okay.
I have your thing up. Let's see. Shana, come on, computer.
Computer, work with Cathy. She said please and silently.
Thank you. Okay, this is your channel. So
okay, sure. How about we do let's do Gazelle. That's a fun one because that's my loop station.
Where is that?
Oh, it's that first one. Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. We are doing do that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that do 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 that do that do that do that. My love is like a gazelle with a long leap, leapt himself across the sea. My love, though he loved me well, he didn't need me. Needed cobblestone and green. Hey, hey, ooh, hey, 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 oh, hey, hey. A year ago today, I started planting a garden. Didn't know they would survive. The earth was cold and gray, and I had no one to guide. If I managed to put it by, I tumbled head first into darkness, expecting a burgeoning. Found the ground, but never found a harness, so I slept without cushioning. My love drinks his portions well, like a moonbeam. I can feel him though he's unseen. My love, he doesn't like to dwell
fond of loving me, likes to make me watch him bleed. Haven't we learned anything? I try to ask myself. The grass is always green if it is treated well. There is no spring. Without winter, there is no spring. Without winter, there is no spring. Without winter, my love is like a gazelle.
Oh man. That's so good.
Yes, yes, yes,
Oh, good.
yes.
Thank you. So that my loop station was this beautiful like thing that I didn't know, like that device, it's got a lot of buttons, and I was like, I've got to make this work. So how do we make things electronic work when we don't know what the H we're doing? We go to youtube.com. So I found yes ma'ams. I found Grace McLean and Them Apples is the name of the group. And Grace, this is her song, Gazelle, and she uses a different loop station. But the way that to build a song, that's how we refer to it, like is building the song in real time to make it sound interesting and to develop the story and to develop the music, so that even though you have a phrase that's only 4 bars, it's like, this right here is just brilliant. So I was like, I got to learn how to do that. And that is why I sing that song.
I got to learn how to do that. That is so much fun. That's like a choir, like all right there. So instead of, okay, you learn their part. You're missing your part. That's not the part. It reminds me of that group. What's that group from France? They were African, like immigrants, but they lived in Paris. And they were like that. There were about 6 of them. And they would loop though live. And that was you by yourself. Like, that's brilliant. That's like club DJ nice. Like,
it's really nice.
Chicka.
I have a cheap one, and I've tried it, and it's like, and Jay Clayton always says, do it for 5 minutes every day. You'll get better, but it sounds like you jumped in, and that doesn't look like a cheap one that you're using either.
It's not cost prohibitive. It's probably, like you buy gear all the time. And by the way, I'm here live from Electric Violin Shop. So if you hear some violins going, it's because that's what's happening. But it's like, if you figure you're going to be doing recording anyway, or you're doing something, we buy gear all the time. So a couple $100 for something that you're definitely going to use. For me, that's another instrument, as a really, really cheap instrument. And it's fun because then I can like take all of the harmonies that are here and here that I can't afford to take background singers on the road with me. I can just be like, boop, 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 boop. Yeah, it's great.
I love it.
How long did it take you to learn it?
That song, probably a couple of days, because I tried it out first. I had just the RC 505.
Couple of days. Wait a minute. I thought it was going to be like a couple of weeks. Okay.
No, because because it's like math. It is essentially math, because you listen to it and you start to dissect what happens next, and then you figure out where it's gonna live, so that you can figure out what you're gonna add, like the additives, and then how you take it away. And so once you like figure out what the order is, then it becomes just like, okay, it sounds like, look, guys, I'm just, y'all about to hear all about how we make the sausage right now. The sausage factory doors open here. Here we go.
I got to throw something in there. That presumes that you can push that button and know that you're going to sing it the right time, on tune, the right thing, and then push the button, go to the next one. I mean, there's so much skill involved in that. I'm blows me away. I'm one of those, but it was just like every time I'd be like, "Ooh, that's not nope."
Well, okay, so yes, Kate, you are absolutely right. There is choreography. There's choreography involved, because you don't realize, like, you know, everybody that's here, y'all got pockets. You know what a pocket feels like. You know how to create one. You know how to be in one. You know what it feels like when someone's not in the pocket with you. Because I know you guys are always in the pocket, right?
Of course.
But of course, duh. Right. But when you're by yourself and you realize that this device is like, its one is eternal, right? Unless you program it to not quantize, the one is the one. So you don't realize how much your pocket has a little bit of room until you go boop, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. So you have to, like, the pulse that's on that light that's like telling you, like, you have to become one with that pulse too. And the other thing that I realized, this is where for the days there were hours where I was just like, what? It's dark outside? Oh my God, I didn't realize. Because you don't realize how much you have to relearn of like how your body responds to music, and how much you have to humble yourself to be like, okay, so now I'm actually not hot on this. I actually have to practice this. Whoa, you know? So the ego had to be checked a little bit in those days too. But once you get over that, I highly recommend looping with yourself, because then it becomes a wonderland of creativity.
Do you have a number of songs now that you do that way?
Interestingly enough, I'm still in what I call like R&D, like research and development, to learn how to write for Loop Station. I'll do like I posted something like in March, Wayne Shorter's Footprints, just because I wanted to take like a blues form that had a finite number of measures, and you know, the form is very specific, and the bass line, but you know, and that's constant, except for, you know, it changes a little bit, but like you can loop that whole thing and then go da 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 da, and then harmonize that, and then improvise over that, you know.
Yeah.
But just to get used to something like that's an exercise for me in pressing the one, and then also adding and some type of rhythm, you know, that is built and not what's in the machine. But for me, it's easier to do that with pre-existing songs and just like arrange something than it is to write something. When I think about writing it, I feel like where Kate was when she's like, I need to give myself the gift of time. Because it's not there yet.
Yeah.
I've definitely experienced that. What you're describing about the one, it's like, wait, what? I thought I was hitting that. Apparently it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you're such a positive person, but I'm drawn to ask you what turns you on?
Ooh.
I mean, nothing, you know, too personal, just, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, Okay, in no particular order, since we're talking, since like music, like this is the first thing that came to mind, speaking with musicians and kind of staying in that ooh vibe. Flugelhorn. Oh. Y'all, he does still have to have a job and have his act together. But I'm telling you, there's a severe advantage if Flugelhorn is anywhere in the picture. That is a thing. I'm trying to remember. I think I was at Howard the first time I heard Flugelhorn, because we would have student recital every Friday, and there was so much, like for me with jazz was a crash course when I got to Howard. I didn't know, like I remember the first time I heard John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman album, like I was like, oh, this is like real jazz, like whoa, like because up until that point, growing up in Amityville, New York, it's not that jazz was not in Amityville, New York. It's just that it was nowhere near my high school. Because we were singing In the Mood Do I, and we had it written out solo, and I had a scat solo that was like, it said, dwee ba do bow.
Yeah.
Dwee ba do bow.
Yeah. Don't forget the N. Dootin.
Oh, girl, that's advanced. We were not there. We just had J.W. Pepper 1, right? It was not good. But it was very, I didn't know what jazz was until I got to Howard. And then, the learning curve was like this. And then one of the jazz students came and played, I don't think I knew what the song was, but I knew that the horn sounded like trumpet, but not. And I just was like, hi. I was so that's one thing that will never not turn me on, Cathy.
Okay.
Flugelhorn.
All right.
So funny.
Anything
what
else?
about y'all? Oh, me still me.
Well, because you're not going to be with us too much longer here.
I'm gonna try to stay as long as I can. Because I will have to jump before we, but I want to hear Lenora and Kate too.
Okay, can I just say though, in college when I was at Berkeley, everybody was writing two-horn charts, right? By the way, there was no vocal at Berkeley at that time. I was there with flute and arranging and composition, but so everybody was writing two-horn charts and trumpet and sax, right? I was writing for flugelhorn and flute. Yeah.
Yes, and this is why we will never not be friends, Cathy. Like this right here. This is why. I'm just saying. Right here.
So funny. Well, I played trumpet in third grade for like 1 year. And I wanted to play French horn. And they said, no, girls can't play that.
Oh.
Boo.
Story, I know, boo. But flugelhorn became one of my favorite instruments too.
Oh.
But what turns me on, if you're talking about instruments, is the tenor saxophone.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Tenor saxophone, hands down. It's just like.
Yeah. Great tone on tenor. Whoa.
Just robust and.
What did you say? Say that one more time. You cut out.
It's just robust. The tenor saxophone is robust and beautiful and lilting and sexy, and it can have the whole space, and then it could squeak and squawk and be like blah. Yes. I love that.
Get it, Lenora. Get it.
That's like nothing. Like I can't even explain to you. I think that's why I love John Coltrane so much too. Is this I could turn on John Coltrane in that period of him playing where it was just like that. And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I
I love that frozen look.
Okay, Kate, you better say guitar.
She'd be like, Keith knows, shoot.
That does turn me on is melody, is people who are melodic on the instruments, and Keith is extremely melodic on his instrument. Yeah, so when somebody is you know, soloing and you just hear them spinning new melodies, and I don't know, that's something that really gets me. But I actually, when you were both telling your stories, that something popped into my mind that really made me feel that first, you know, uh, overflow of sort of passion about the music, and that was when I went to UMass Amherst in um, 1981 to 85, dating myself, but. I had a class with Archie Shepp, was, you know, one of the,
Yeah.
wow.
but I didn't know him. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about anything at the time, you know, and I hadn't really heard very much jazz. But somebody had said, you know, you should this guy if you can, and um, and I heard. One thing that was amazing was that the very first gig that I had, which was at the top of the campus club, Archie came to it, and he played Danny Boy on the piano, and he just sits down and just, he's in a completely not the right key, you know, for me, but it didn't matter, you know, he just like sits down and he's playing these chords that were so just, you know, rich and angry and full of like every bit of life. And, you know, me just going, oh, Danny Boy, you know what I mean? Along with to me, it was like that beautiful. It was like, oh wow, that's what jazz has, everything in it. It's got a newborn baby and somebody who's like taking an axe to something.
Yeah.
It just had everything, and I think that was like the, you know, it was like this fire rising from hearing that and feeling, you know, feeling that richness and that fury, you know, and
Yeah.
how the music could hold all of it, and it could hold, you know, me where I was right then, you know, and that it invited my voice where it was, and his voice, and for
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, talking about you, the different music that we would have heard that turned us on, you know, besides just the instrument itself. Yeah, I remember I had two really distinct moments of my own. My dad, you know, was a musician, so I grew up listening to Ella Fitzgerald and loving all the music. But um, I went with my sister to hear the Modern Jazz Quartet when I must have been, she had to be 18, maybe I was 14, and I was totally blown away. And we were in the jazz workshop. Remember the jazz workshop, Kate, in Boston?
I heard of it, but I wasn't around.
You were too young. Anyway, the jazz workshop in Paul's Mall were these two clubs literally sharing the same wall. And the jazz workshop was really small, and that's where they were. And I was in the front row, and I was so blown away by and that still is what excites me today. This quality that those guys brought. It was graceful and honoring, and it had ethics in it, and you know, it had all this beautiful stuff besides them all reaching that magic beautiful spot of the music. It carried other stuff, and I was totally blown away by that. And the other blown away thing was when I first heard Weather Report. Kind of, you know, like that, Kate, like you were talking about the, you know, beautiful, you know, you singing Danny Boy with Archie Shepp. The way that they were all holding the same point together, but then each one of them was doing what they wanted, and the effect was, you know, open. And so those two were my particular memories of super knockout, you know.
Should we go around another round? Because I mean, I feel like
I remember
Do it.
trying to.
Go
So
ahead, Lenora.
I loved Weather Report because I remember in Berkeley, I was at Berkeley too, but like 79 to 82, right?
Yeah.
I like ran through in 3 years. Like I was like, I'm not taking any time off. I'm like finishing this degree. But I did a transcription of a remark you made, Wayne Shorter's composition.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, okay, composition is the thing. Like, so I love composers. And I remember hearing Jerry Allen for the first time, like sit at the piano. We were doing something like for the mayor's office in New York at this like downtown thing. It was just her and I was like, wow, this composition and listening to a piano player,
Yeah.
you know, for composing or hearing a jazz composition and being like, I want to know what that is. Like, that's what made me go into film scoring and do that degree at Berkeley instead of like performance or something else. I wanted to know what it feels like to compose because it feels powerful and mysterious and amazing. Yeah.
You know, speaking of sound of scoring, that was going to be my one of two, and then I'll tell two in a moment. The first, I didn't realize until I heard the Mo Better Blues soundtrack. That was like my gateway drug. Like, I didn't know who it was that spoke to me through the Acapulco version of Harlem Blues. And then when I started reading the credits and I realized that Terrence Blanchard was, you know, that's when I started exploring more of his music. Because I think up until that point, I feel like I just assumed that Spike Lee's dad, Bill Lee, like composed everything, right? But the way that the strings sit and then for me, like expanding out on the emotion transition music in film scores, where there's like 1 or 2 minutes that just hold that emotion or suggest something is going to happen or something, or reflection, or all of the emotional stuff that is held in those transitions of scoring. I don't do it well. I think I probably, if I actually tried, because my intention is like, oh, I would love to do that. But you know, it wasn't perfect the first time I tried it. So I quit, you know. We know how that goes. But I wanted to mention, I'm thinking, yeah, it's a process. The first time I heard Grady Tate, that's the first time I heard a melodic drummer. That's the first time that I didn't know that drums did any more than keep time, you know, and that you either did that well or metronomically or you didn't. And then there's solos, and you know, that was, I told you, like my jazz, my jazz did not start until like I was like almost 21, you know, in terms of like the awareness. But I had no idea that I could hear a melody and hear a conversation until Grady Tate. And I didn't know anything about him singing until, because he was on faculty at Howard, and every once in a while he would play and he would just be so easy. It just, you know, and all this stuff is like this wonderland is coming out of the kid, you know, and he's so easy with it. It's just like that smile. And then we would talk about, hey, he's from Durham too. Did you know that? Did you know that?
Oh, wow.
Did you know that?
The Jazz Festival.
City.
The Jazz Festival used to be called, at NCC, used to be called the Grady Tate Festival.
Oh.
Yep. He was one of the most musical people. Like, I just really, like, I knew like my bar for drums, whenever it was my turn to have an ensemble, was set from that moment, you know, which is kind of sorry for many drummers. Sorry.
Hey, Tierney's back, and she said he was one of her favorite singers in the world.
Yes. Yep. Like just both incredibly well. I one or the other could have made him like $1 million, but then he had both, and so we got a chance to benefit from all of him.
Cool. Hey, well, it's a little after 1. Let's move to focus a little more on one of the other ladies. Lenora, I'm kind of, I don't know, I know you the least. And so I'd like to know more. And you mentioned your compositions. So is there a YouTube thing that we could see about that?
Probably. Let me think. I have kind of that thing with Kate that I compose a lot, and I've composed in a lot of different TV, film, and a children's theater piece, and every single one of my CDs I've composed music on. But am I singing one of my own compositions yet? Yes. Yes, I have to just I did a recent.
I can also look, and you can maybe see.
It's one of the links I sent you, but I'm playing around midnight and singing on the link that I sent you. But later in that same video, like the last 10 minutes, I'm singing 2 of my own compositions. I did I won a Chamber of Music America New Jazz Works grant in 2004. And when I did, I could throw a link in the chat too, because I did put it so I could get to it easily while we were together. And okay, here's the video. I'll put it in the chat, and then we'll be able to go to we have to just go find the last part I'm talking about. And so this was a piece. It was 11 songs in a suite called Journey Woman. And it was about a woman's journey but it was backwards, from death to birth. And one of the songs was kind of like about my grandmother, and called Beauty. I have it on SoundCloud, but in this video, I'm singing it live kind of to the track.
And does it start here?
No, that's when I'm about to sing around midnight. It's toward the end, like all the way toward the end. Yeah, like about around there.
Okay, let's see what this is.
That's my living room.
Thank you for Jay. Excuse me. She asked.
Okay, right there, around there.
Oh,
yeah.
From our North Carolina poet laureate, and Jackie Shelton Green. Shout out to you. She asked me, and I'm so honored to write a little review.
I'm sorry.
You mean like the song before?
Yeah. Let's see. Am I singing? Okay, maybe here.
With laying of hands.
Yeah, it's here.
That's the song.
Mm-hmm.
Welcoming all to her side.
That's still the song?
Uh-huh.
That's
in the middle of it.
We do?
Mm-hmm. About to start.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to be Beauty.
This was for Durham from the Heart. They did
Queen, with a smile, sultry, soft, and serene. A voice that lingers in the air. Soulful song of the angels fair. hides the steely fire of death. You wonder just how well she knew your every thought, word and deed, with cunning of wolf, holding love in her beauty, wisdom and grace intertwined. She is beauty sublime, a voice that lingers in the air, joyous song of the angels fair, hides the steely fire of death. As death awaits, she lives anew. She's welcoming all to her side, with laying of hands, holding love, forgiveness, and a beauty.
hides the steely fire of
Wow, beautiful.
Thank you.
So, wow, I got to know about the words.
Hello.
Yeah, tell us about how you wrote that, or the song, or you know.
So it was like the second song in, because I started this. It was a suite of 11 songs, and I started from like someone's dead, like, and how do you like review their life? And it was around the time, not long after my grandmother passed away. And you know, when you go to the hospital to like kind of say your last thoughts to somebody, and it was like she was there. It was very queenly, and she was very powerful. Like she knew, she like moved generations of people. She was like the oldest living licensed cosmetologist when she died in Illinois. Rosie O'Donnell had her on her show and everything.
Oh, wow.
And she had this beauty school on the south side of Chicago, like near the housing projects, for 40 years. So most of the barbers and hairstylists in Chicago either went through my grandmother's school or were trained by a teacher from that school. So she had like a legacy of people she touched. And so when she was in the hospital, everyone was coming by her side and people were laying hands on her, and they were talking about how she changed their life. And people were just, you know, it was like a really powerful moment and to watch, you know, how that dash that, you know, people live when they live their life. And so I just wanted to make a story about her, like she was she was Ebony Queen with a smile. She was sultry, you know, she was soft. She had a serene spirit, but she was like a hellraiser. And so, you know, she had all of these different energies. And so I said, it has to be a blues, right? It has to be a blues, and it has to have like, has to go everywhere. It has to have like power, and it has to have vulnerability, and it has to have like courage, and it has to have like brawn, you know.
Yeah.
So
is it possible to recite the lyrics?
Ebony Queen with a smile, sultry, soft, and serene, a voice that lingers in the air, a joyous song of the angels fair, hides the steely fire of death. As death awaits, she lives anew. She's blessing all who come to with laying of hands, holding love, forgiveness, and beauty. What's the next part? I have to almost sing it to like, oh, beauty. And grace. What's that word? Forgiveness and grace intertwined. She is beauty sublime. Path that leads into your heart. I'm forgetting the last line, but it was kind of really about the way that she made you feel in that room. Like, you know, some of the family could stay in the room while others would visit, and then after a few minutes they had to leave. But she would go in and out of consciousness. It was like really a powerful time. When people were coming and say, you changed my life, and they're weeping and they're holding on to her. But then or people who had, you know, there was tension, like she had a lot of people who, you know, had to come and like ask for forgiveness or her, you know, with her daughters. So I learned so much about the human spirit, like in that moment.
Huh. Well, it's a very powerful song. Great performance too.
Thank you so much. It took a long time to learn how to sing it.
I was thinking about how the process of writing that song, you must have heard it in your head quite a bit first.
A lot of times when I'm writing, I don't hear everything all at once. And because I didn't play an instrument originally and piano came later, I always hear melody first. Maybe I'll write the lyrics down. Before I knew about songwriting, I just had books of poetry. So,
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? What you just said?
Story.
Sorry. Could you repeat that? You're cutting out a little bit.
Okay. So I really have a lot of poetry, a lot of books of poetry when I first started writing.
Yeah.
And composing. And so all of the pieces in this suite were, because I had a story thread, they were like that. So when I'm composing, I'm really thinking of the melody and the story. And then I sit with the chords and try to really hear. Sometimes I have like just snippets of recordings of just melodies. And then I play the melody. I say, oh, I really like that. I like where that's going. And then I'll find the chords to it. Most of the time, my compositions start like that. They almost never start with, here's a chord progression. Let me find a melody for it.
Yeah.
Melody. Yeah. And then when I learned how to arrange and put other instruments in it, then I would say, oh, I really want this to be flugelhorn and flute. Or I want this to be, I really love putting together different combinations. Like if you add vibraphone and guitar, it'll sound like a Fender Rhodes in some places, you know, like different combinations of instrumentation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Kate, you're muted, I think.
Trying to keep the background noise out. But I had a question for Lenora, or something that I just wanted to have you see if you talk about a little bit. I had known about you through before I moved to Durham. You lived in New York, for a long time and had a wonderful reputation there as a jazz singer. And so I knew of you from that. And then when I moved to Durham, and you were kind enough to invite me into your office at Central, North Carolina Central, where you were, running the program there, and we had a nice chat and everything. And then I heard there you're getting your master's degree, and then you're getting your doctorate, and then you're writing these big band things. I just feel like every time I've seen you, you're like embarking on these, really big journeys and taking like, I don't know, just massive, like, I'm going to do this, and also I'm watching, like I see Lenora conducts and runs the a jazz choir of, really wonderful young people that she teaches at Central. And I mean, just hearing these voices and what you're doing with them and how you're empowering these young people to really become, great singers and passionate, artists. And I don't know, I feel like you just have a hand in so many different pots, and they're all like really powerful things. And I guess I don't know what my question is, but it's sort of like, how the hell do you do all that?
Well, that leads me to a question, actually, because it's was there a moment where you realized that you wanted to give to the community? Obviously, you're a community leader and you're an inspiration. So was there a moment where you went, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm designed for?
A little bit. That's a great question. And thank you, Kate. I was a U.S. Jazz Ambassador in '98 for the State Department, and we won in Southeast Africa, and one of the places we were in was Madagascar. And they, it's such a beautiful country, but very poor country at that time, especially. And they had a concert that the embassy set up, but there were 1,000 people at this concert. And so the concert happened, and they had a lot of marketing and all of that stuff. And then after the concert, I sat on the side of my bed in the hotel room, and I thought to myself, this can't be it. It can't be just about like, oh, you do a concert, yay. I'm like, this, that sucks. It can't just be about you being on the stage. And so when I came back, I mean, that was like the moment, it was like a ding. But then I didn't know what to do with that thought. And so when I came back, I little by little I started teaching more. And I started to get more teaching jobs, more teaching artist work. Started a program for young people called the Harmony Program while I lived in New York. And there was this snowball of your work as an artist has something to do with other people's journey in music, not just yours.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out how it would look. And I was rejecting it. And I kept getting teaching work. And I would have to refer other teachers to like take the jobs that I couldn't take. I was like, but I want to sing. I was like, God, if you're up there, I want to sing. I want to sing. It's like, no, you have to teach right now. I said, I want to sing. I want to sing. And it was such a hard transition because I was resisting it. And then everything I was doing in New York fell apart. Like my co-director co-founded that program with someone, and then they kind of betrayed me. And
I'm sorry.
My relationship.
Sorry, Lenora. Could you repeat that? What happened in New York?
Everything that I had built started falling apart. Yeah. At the same time that I got an invitation to come and teach at NCCU. Oh. And when I got the call from the director at NCCU, he was like, because it was after I came and did a concert at NCCU and a master class, and then I went back to New York. And he's like, do you want to come and help build our vocal jazz program? I was like, no, I'm not leaving New York. And my friend at the time said, call him back and see if you can go part-time. And I was like, well, I didn't think about that. And so I called him back. I said, can I come part-time? I was like, and I was hoping he would say no. And he's like, yeah, we can make that work. So I came and I would come to North Carolina like for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And on Thursday, I'd go back to New York. And I would do my stuff that I had in New York Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then Monday I'd come back to Durham. And I did that for 2 years, just resisting, like I'm not gonna I'm a New York musician. And it did, and then eventually it was like God said, okay, I'll fix your little butt. And just not everything closed down in New York. Like my relationship, my businesses, any of my work, it was just like dead. And everything was in North Carolina.
Wow.
And and lucky for me with my hard head, because then I learned about servant leadership in music and I met my husband. So
so it all worked. And then there must have been a point where you just kind of breathed and went, oh, yeah. Right?
Yeah, it took a minute. It took a minute, but eventually I was like, okay. Because the more I met students who were like, wow, this is what I want to do. And I knew what to tell them. Yes. I was like, okay, I know what to tell them. I know exactly what to tell them. I know exactly what to teach them. All the things I wished I had someone to teach me. All the things I wish I had someone to tell me. I was like, okay, all right, God, I get it. Here I am. I surrender.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like the biggest gift that you give. One of the biggest gifts is like to be able to know that students at that age, when they have like some glimmer of, I want to do this, and I don't know what all of this is, but that you are there to allow them to like relax their shoulders and to encourage them to be at that audition, in that class, in that lesson, giving their very best, because it's who it's what they're supposed to be there doing, not to impress you, not to impress the audience, but because the music lives in them, and you, Lenora, know that it's your job to water it and feed it and give it Miracle Grow and prune it and then you help be like, okay, world, this is who you are supposed to see. This is what you're supposed to hear. Yeah. I cannot tell you how long, like that's such a gift for anyone to be able to start out at the very start of their career without having to be broken down and told, like you said, Cathy, maybe you shouldn't sing anymore. Maybe you shouldn't, you actually want to do this for the public. I can't tell you how many people I know that have battle scars from that journey. So thank you for like listening to the obviousness of who you are. I want to quickly add this teaching artist program. I don't know, Cathy, if that's a question for you, but like, girl, when I saw that you started that certificate program at Central, I was like, yes, again, now artists who have some glimmer of like, we all have something to share, right? But everybody doesn't know how to like put it in a way that brings our very best. I'm just happy that you started that program at Central Teaching Artist Certificate.
Oh, it was so hard.
Can we talk about that, Cathy?
Yeah, please. Okay? Please talk about it. Yes.
Well, quickly, it's like a 3 program. How I made my living in New York between gigs was being a teaching artist. And I didn't even know that was a thing. And then I would look up and I would go, but why am I the only woman here? Or why am I the only Black woman here? I was like, where are the teaching artists in North Carolina? When I got here, I was on panels to help people get into rosters of teaching artist programs. But then I would be the only Black person on the panel, or I would see that they didn't have the diversity and inclusion. I was like, this isn't right. And so, I was like, okay, not again, God, really. So, I started asking people, well, how do the teaching artists who don't make it on the rosters, how do they get training? I was like, that's not right. That's not right, because in New York and big cities, there are lots of services to help artists learn that track.
Yeah.
I said, well, you know what, let's different factions of people on campus, and they were like, what's a teaching artist? No, it's going to interfere with the School of Ed. I was like, no, it's not. It's not a classroom teacher. It's not a teaching assistant. So it was like training people on what that was, and then taking and creating a program. And now it exists. We're 3 years into our program, and we just got National Endowment of the Arts funding.
Wow. God, Lenora, that's super unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm grateful. So being obedient to those kinds of things has been a common thread in my life as an artist in the journey, is to open the door, be the hand on the doorknob for other artists, to come through at the same time, but realizing that I can't teach authentically in the classroom if I don't keep my work up. The big band record that I just released, it was a 9-year hiatus. And so that's hard, that balancing act of when is the time. But to answer your question, Kate, I have a planner and I have colored markers, and I plan like arduously, it's like my oxygen goals, and 3, 6, 9-month goals, and really focused.
Wow.
That's really hard. I think that's one of the hardest things that there is, like having a big plate full of different delicious foods and deciding what you're going to eat first and how long it's going to take and what you have to do to eat it. I mean, that's pretty huge, actually. All by itself, it's pretty huge.
Yeah.
And then your pieces of food on the plate are huge too.
She's cooking banquets for like But that's what I love, Lenora, how then, life brings you back around to, oh, well, now I'm going to make a big band record, and which was a lot more work and creating and everything. But then you got to step in, again to the artist role. And it does seem like, we get those moments where it's like, it keeps coming back around where it's like, okay, now here, share where you're at as an artist, and here, now go back in and teach. And now, it's like, it'll keep going around. Now I trust it. I don't feel as, as nervous about it if I'm teaching a lot, which is what's happening now. It's like, it's not really bothering me that much. Like if I need to perform, or if I feel like I want to, then I can try and, dig something up.
Yeah,
Kate,
singers, we have to learn that, right? We have to be band leaders.
yeah.
Composers, band leaders. We have to like, well, a lot of times we're hiring people. We're responsible for the careers of our bandmates, you know, if they're younger. So singers, we have to kind of always wearing a few hats. Look
Yeah.
at Cathy's program and look at the work you do, Kate.
Yeah. Well, actually, Lenora, I can see I want to talk to you more about what you do. And Kate, thanks for bringing up what she does, so that because you know, I need to know more. But so Kate McGarry, I'd like to talk about you too, because we're kind of on the last part of our show. See, each one of you can talk 2 hours, no problem. No problem at all, believe me. But anyway, so Kate McGarry, I mean, I first met Kate when she came to LA, and we were both young, although she's younger than I am. But and she's from Boston, I'm from Boston, and so I just felt an immediate camaraderie with her, and we were working with the same people, and we were in the same kind of genre of music, and anyway, so we got to be really good friends. But you know, I'm sure you know this because I've brought it up and you've seen me in the audience, but I would have to say you are one of the artists that has super affected me as a person and an artist myself when I watch you sing. I mean, I have cried so many Kate McGarry concerts, you know, and oh yeah, totally. And there was one particular night at Ca del Sol, which was Lenora, it was a small club here that I booked for a while. And she was singing, and you had your little stance, you know. And almost the whole time, your eyes were shut. Now, you know, I have had 16 or I don't know how many years, 17, oh no, almost 20 years of workshops at my house, right? Involving all different kinds of clinicians. Hundreds of people have come here and talked. Oh, very nice. and and cute. And so, you know, and there probably hasn't been one teacher who hasn't said, open your eyes, you know, and look at the people and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, she didn't look. She had her eyes closed the whole time. And I was still absolutely weeping. So, yeah, you have really affected me over the years of watching you perform.
Thank you, Cathy.
Yep. You have a very special gift. And I'm not the only one who thinks so, I'm sure.
She has that thing. She has that thing where you listen to her and you say, who is this girl? Right? Like she there's like, and I was watching an interview you did, Cathy, with Diane Reeves, and she said, there's your voice and there's your instrument. Right? And they're not the same thing. Your voice is who you are and what you have to say. And when you hear Kate sing, what she has to say is so organic, right? It just like reaches out. Yeah, she has that thing.
I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, when I'm working with people, I know that thing about, you know, you're supposed to keep your eyes open. It's more important than the person. And I you know, I like to do that too, but I don't feel like that's worth trading in connection. You know, like you've got it, like the most important thing you got to do is connect with your own, you know, reason for, you know, why you're opening your mouth. Like that's like, and if I've got my eyes closed, I'm sort of like either I'm trying to find that, or I've got a hold of it, and it feels like I have to stay right there to keep a hold of it. You know what I mean? And then at some point, maybe it feels like it's so solid and strong that it's just sort of like, then I got to open my eyes and share it. You know what I mean? But as a rule, like to be like, you have to keep your eyes open. Like it teaches the singer that their connection with themselves is secondary, and that's not the case. Like for it to
primary.
Be worthwhile or really to the real thing to do is give, you know, and to be with yourself and to allow yourself to experience something so that other people can, you know, can find something in themselves that invites people to connect with their own experience, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. When I can see, cause I've known you for so long. And you always had that, you always had that ability to get that touching, intimate spot. But like, as you said, you know, as you grew, it became more balanced in this particular thing that you're talking about. You know, you grew to trust that more, right? And so I can imagine that there were some significant moments for you along the way when you were younger of going, oh, what am I doing? Or, oh, this is it. Yeah, great.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, before we move on to anything else, if this is reasons why we love Kate McGarry time, because I had to step away for a moment. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Can I share?
Sure.
I just quickly. Okay. I don't know the exactly all the thread of the eyes closed part, but I can tell you that it disappoints me when I have to miss a show where Kate is singing locally, you know, because usually, you know, we don't have that many venues here in Durham. And so the one in particular where I've seen you play the most, Kate, is at Sharp 9, which is a very small space. You know, I think it's like 80 or 88 seats, something like that. And the thing that I love is like this sort of transporting into the song and into the story and into the journey. And I don't know. I half the time my eyes are closed because I feel like you're like taking us into this space where you're like, I don't know, in my mind's eye, I feel like you have like this, a lantern, and, you know, and you're showing us the story, and then you're like, and then we keep going. Yeah. And then there's like this beautiful, like, and then it becomes like this story, like on Sesame Street. Remember that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're in the pinball machine. And then you're like going through all these tops and turns and stuff. And you don't realize until the song is like, your concerts are one of the few concerts where people wait to applaud because they have to wait that long to get back to reality. And then nobody wants to like mess up the vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love, it's such a gift. It's such a gift to sit there and like experience that with you. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I love Kate McGarry. Okay. Thank
you. What do you have to say to that, Kate?
Well, what you were saying about those moments, Cathy, I think the thing that comes up for me is that failure is like the most beautiful, like hardest teacher and helper, you know. And I think that I would say the moments when I have felt and feel that I failed at something, you know, in terms of like that my voice wasn't where I wanted it to be, or my, you know, courage wasn't where I needed it to be, or my words weren't there, or something, that those moments and like the aftermath and the whatever the process is of trying to get through, you know, forgiving, you know, myself, or understanding it, or kind of like trying to see it right sized, you know, so it doesn't seem so huge, you you know, or, all of those things are to me, I guess, the parts that help it become more real. You know, when like then the actual when it's time to sing, there's more, I don't know, just appreciation for the you know, just the damn, you know, the whole thing, like the entire, like the lineage of people who, you know, the women who have stood up on those stages, just like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, every one of them and what they were doing, and like that this little thing keeps going, you know, I got that bug. And then I know there's young people in our community, Emma, you guys know Emma Gonzalez, young woman. She's still in high school. She just like got this bug, you know, and now she's singing these old songs, and like it seems like you're listening to somebody out of 1940s movie, because like she's so like just in it, you know, and not putting all these melismas that are more modern or whatever. She's just like I just love seeing how this love for jazz music and for, you know, the wider, what that wider umbrella or apron that jazz, you know, includes, how it just keeps moving through us, and you're invited to the party and you can sing your song, but you're never the be all end all. The next person is, you know what I mean? It's like, who's singing now? Like what, who's
who got next?
When it's your turn, it's time to stand up and try and do your darndest. And then, but like kind of now it's sort of like, oh yeah, these times are going to come and go, and I'll have my chances, but I don't have to worry about trying to be more than I am or something like that. And there's, as you were saying, Lenora and Shana, that there's this community. It's like everybody has something beautiful to say. And Cathy, you are one of the first ones that I mean, when I moved to LA, everybody said, you got to call Cathy. She's from, you know, from East Coast too, and blah blah blah. You guys have so much in common. And every time I would, you know, as I looked at everything you were doing, you were always making a place for singers to gather, to learn from each other, to have places to sing. And so, like, the people that I most admire in music, you know, are the people who are like making a way for everybody and passing it on and sharing it, and that, I feel like I value that as much as, you know, anything else.
Yeah. Kate, I know that this is a question a lot of people want to know, because because I always hear people talk about this. How the heck do you and Keith come up with such great arrangements? Like, what is the process? Do you start? Does Keith start? Do you get together and you and Keith does something, you go, yeah, and then this? How does that happen?
Yeah. So there's a few different ways, but one of the ways has been that the song, like I guess the very first time that happened for me was with this song called "Show Me," that was from
right. That was wonderful.
Whatever, 99 or 98 or something like that. And I had this, like this, it bothered me. It's like a song comes up and it bothers me. It just keeps bothering me. And so then maybe I'm sitting at the piano, I'm trying to sing it, and then maybe it starts to, it means something to me other than what it meant originally. You know what I mean? So then there's this long process of decoding, what does that mean to me? And how does that meaning sound? So usually that means untethering it from whatever its usual dock that it was at, you know, whether that be rhythmically, harmonically, you know, all different ways. So I'll have some kind of feeling about it, a story that feels like important to me, and you know, it starts to come through. If I spend enough time with it, I'll get points, you know, parts of it. And there's some of the songs that we've done that have been me just banging it out on the piano. Some of them, and then I bring it to Keith and say, here's what I have, you know, and then he translates it onto his instrument, and it opens up and becomes something, you know, so beautiful. And then sometimes, like we had a song for Let's Face the Music and Dance, an arrangement of that. Keith just took that, and also Whatever Lola Wants. Those are two that he just took, and it came out. That came out of him, and so it's a combination of some of them are my babies, and some of them are his babies, and some of them I've got the A section, and he comes up with the bridge. But it is definitely always a collaboration in terms of that. I bring a story to the floor, and he finds a way to translate that onto his instrument.
Yeah,
that makes it blossom.
Hi, Anita Wardell. Hey, man, she's awake. Those Australians, man. I'm going to go to a YouTube, and then I'd like you to direct us maybe to something that you want to share.
Oh,
well, there's Mercy Streets, which I totally love, but
right. Well, if you wanted the first, Shana, you were saying the first song that I sang is written that I wrote is called Going In, and that's on there if you put in Going In. That was the very first song I wrote, and that was well, I was living at an ashram in New York, and I was in love with a woman named Grace Moon, and it was a story that came out of that. It was sort of like the relationship, falling in love with her and allowing that to live and become a relationship. That opened up that was the first song I ever wrote, because it opened this door for me, allowing myself to feel and experience love for her, and to allow that a relationship to live. And so that was the very first song that I wrote. So
I have typed that in, but I don't see it.
Can you? Yeah, let's see. I see it here. Oh, put it in first, Going In, and with a G.
You like Going In right there, right? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can you put a G on it?
A G where? Oh, going. I'm sorry.
Right.
Going in. Okay.
Yeah, see if that brings it up.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Right here, right?
There you go.
Okay, this is
not
a video, but that's cool.
Oh, it's a skip ad. There you go.
We'll just look at your picture while we're listening.
Going in, I'm going in. Tie a rope around my waist and make it tight. I'm going in through the small space in his eyes where I know I saw some light. Going in, lower me down, don't let go. Please stay around, my friends. One tug means I'm running out of air. Two tugs mean I found something that's beating, and I'm holding it with care. Keep a vigil round the fire, singing songs till I return. I'm going in, tie a rope around my waist and make it tight. I'm going in through the small space in his eyes where I know I saw some light. Didn't you do the same for me? Read the lonely letter life had written on my eyes, and with faith enough for two, you took me by the hand, whispered in my ear, girl, there's life out here. We're going in, tie a rope around your waist and make it tight. We're going in, of someone who's hiding out in a corner of their life. Bring a torch, bring a flame, bring flowers from your garden, 'cause it's all the same. With every act of kindness, you break down a wall of fear. We're going in, we're going in, yeah. There are a variety of ways to make it tight. Going in, going in, oh, we're going in.
Wow, that's so good. Your lyrics are really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean they are. I've always thought in all the songs that you've written lyrics, because you've written lyrics, right?
Some, I mean, yeah, not any more than to the songs. You know, they're just for the songs that I wrote.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I can write a lyric to somebody else's
um,
song.
what year was this from? Buddy wants to know.
No, 2005, I think, or 2006.
Okay.
But I wrote it in '99.
Oh.
But that was the first, yeah. Well.
Nice.
Yeah. Let's see. We have a few comments. Lisa Rich wanted to know, was this Guramai?
Oh, yes, that was his Guramai. Yeah, I was living at the ashram.
I used to go to that ashram.
Did you?
Yes. I used to go to all of her talks, and I have my cushion, my meditation cushion I bought from there.
Oh my gosh.
We have to talk about that. That was like my life.
That's amazing. Wow. All right.
Wow.
Gotta have coffee.
Wow.
What years were you there?
Man, in the 2000s, like late 90s and 2000s.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Kate, it struck me that's something I've thought about over the years too, is your style. So like Shana was talking about her style, being a mixture, and your style certainly is a mixture. And there was a point where your heritage started coming out more forward, kind of in the middle of your LA time or something. It started like blossoming out. Have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I remember somebody telling me, you got to pick. You got to get on one side of the fence, and because your message is too diffuse. Are you a jazz singer? Are you a folk singer? And I tried my damn best, I really did, but I wasn't. Like a whole. It came to where a whole set that was just jazz tunes didn't feel right to me, and a whole set of folk tunes didn't feel right either. And a whole set of my own original tunes didn't feel right. A whole set of Irish tunes didn't feel right. It really had to be, more of a mixture of everything. So that's just what I have to offer. And anybody who likes it can come along.
Yeah.
Yeah, really
that's
beautiful.
so important to be who you are.
Yeah.
You have to be who you are, and we don't get messages that really support that.
Yes.
How is it possible? I will never be able to understand how we can be such receptacles of what and know so clearly what we like, and we are a sum of our parts, and we filter what stays, and then we make something new out of it. And so how is it possible that when you listen, I'm sure we all listen to a lot of different stuff. Why has it become such a normal thing, or in the past it has, for someone to say you have to choose, and you're like, okay, I'm a this kind of singer, or I'm a this kind of musician. I get it in terms of, record store categories and this section and this section. But when when your influences translate into the musician that you are, you're doing a disservice, I think, to yourself and to the world to choose one thing. Yeah. When your artistry is a spectrum of so many different things, and it shows up the way you show up, Kate. Why I would hate for us to not be able to hear, like, so much of what you also do, because somebody said you have to choose.
Right. Well, Ava Cassidy was probably one of the first people that was, you know, we all know the story about her. She was tried to force her into one of the categories, and she wouldn't, and so they didn't take her up and, you know, bring her up. And she was like that, right? She was Ava Cassidy.
Oh yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. But most of the people we probably all love are in that same, you know, boat. Like people now say about the pandemic, when we're all in the same storm but not in the same boat. Mm-hmm. Those of us as artists who, because in Chicago growing up, everything was on the radio, everything all together. There weren't categories and programming of whatever. And so I think that it's because culturally in this country, we don't understand musicians as griots. We don't embrace musicians in the role that they play in society. We put musicians in this category that have more to do with commercialism and more to do with how you sell and consumerism. If you read that book, The Gift, it totally will like give you that understanding of when people struggle with thinking about arts in consumerism, and instead of we are artists and we create, we minister to our audiences in a way. We have servant roles and accountability and responsibility. All of those things come as you mature, and then you just say, look, like you said, Kate, I am who I am. Come and get some of this or not. And it's okay with me if you come or not. But we have to get to that level because our 20-somethings struggle with, where do I fit? Like Miss Hammonds, I like to sing this. I like to sing Puccini. I like to sing Stevie Wonder. I like to sing a Sister Rosetta Thorpe. I like to sing Carly Simon. Why do I have to choose? And it's because of the way that consumerism and commercial, the idea about how we sell our work and how we get people to consume our product, that you have to like decide on, you're not going to think like that. Yeah.
Well, I know we could sit around and talk for probably like 2 days, actually. I could imagine us sitting around in a cabin, you know, having a drink and, you know, talking about all this stuff. Yeah. So I want to say thank you. And I would like each one of you to say whatever you'd like to say to the listening audience, or, you know, whatever you want to say as a closing commentary. And I'm not going to point out one first. You just jump in.
Well, I'll jump in real fast. One of my former students was on the Facebook Live, and she asked this question: how do you balance teaching and performing? Which is a real thing for you to decide. And I mentioned that I schedule everything, but before I got to the point of scheduling, in my heart, I had to discern what my gift was for, and then make a choice that it would be teaching. I would lead with my teaching, and then let the performing come as a manifestation of the teaching, or as a way to just continue building my craft so that I can serve a teacher. But I still perform because you have to teach, you have to keep building your craft in order to maintain your job in academia and higher education. And so they kind of feed the other. But when you are teaching as a private, and you know, as a private studio, or you're doing work as a teaching artist, it is a hard thing to juggle. And you have to do a come to Jesus moment and say what's important for you then. It's just a snapshot, like your time that you're doing it is a snapshot. Like if you go to the beach, you take a picture, that's not the beach forever. That's that snapshot. So your life will have a variety of snapshots, and you don't have to feel like it's like come, end all, come all, it'll continue to manifest in your journey.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Shana.
I will go. I will go because I feel like Cathy and Kate are our hosts, kind of like Kate invited us and Cathy invited Kate, and so as an invitee.
Oh,
sorry. I wanted to just talk about like impact. I've been thinking a lot about impact. Sorry. Impact. And just how we make the most of our impact. And what we're like, how we're honest with ourselves about, what we, to kind of piggyback off of Lenora, what we want to do. And that we can do more than one thing. It's okay. Like we're talking about genres and someone said somewhere, you have to choose, and that's not true. And with all of our pie charts of what we do, that encompasses our artistry, it's not so much that you have to choose one over the other as much as it is prioritizing and organizing and deciding, when you shift and when, what is the focus and how you make the most impact at any particular time. And I also think just for anybody, whether you're an artist for a living or you're, you appreciate art, it's the joy. The joy factor is like, art is not without joy. It has to, you either have it when you're making it or it brings you joy when you're experiencing it. And you don't have to know what it is that you're doing or what it is that you're looking at, as long as it brings you joy. That kind of stuff, just like, it's infectious. That's not a word that we are allowed to say these days, but when it's joy, I'm going to say infectious all the time. We have to, like, it has to make you feel something like that makes you want more of it and makes you want to share more of it. And so I hope that everybody that's like sitting at home or just not able to like be in one physical place all the time to experience that joy of creativity and art, find a way. It's out here. We're doing joy right now. Bi-coastally. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
So beautiful. Wow. Well, what that brings up for me is a feeling of gratitude for the community of jazz musicians and just musicians in general, and people who live to create and to share with each other and to put out something beautiful into the world. And the teachers, I just was thinking about who are the people just who are like Lenora, who you are to so many people, and Shana, who you are. You're, as a teaching artist, you are always working with so many people. And I don't know, I feel that gratitude to Dr. Boyer, was the person who I got to study with in college, and Dr. Horace Boyer, and Bernice Reagan Johnson is another one who I just feel so grateful for the work that she put into the world. And Rhiannon is another person who really just blows me away with what she shares with the world. And I don't know, and just all as you say, it's our community, all of our peers. I look at everywhere I turn, I see Cathy sharing and amplifying people's voices and making a way for people to be heard, and Tierney, our sister, and Tierney, and just like there's just so many people, and everywhere I look, the same. Anita's doing that in London or in Australia, and it's a tough job, and it, like, if you just are staying in there and you end up being in there for 20, 30, 40 years, you find that, you've created like this something that has just so much joy and meaning, and that you feel fortunate to be part of. So
thank you, Kate. And I want to also, I feel inclined to say something too, which is kind of, I think Lenora was talking about it earlier about, how competition isn't competition. And so I've always felt for many years that I create my own reality, and I've gotten a little weirdly deep in it around the 70s, when I was a hippie, and then I came out a little bit. But anyway, so I feel that, like Lenora, you had something really beautiful that you said about us all being one. I forget what you said. It was a beautiful statement. But the thing is that when somebody wins something, that they're part of my creation. If I know about them, they are part of my creation. And so there is no reason why I should feel a loss. I can feel joy in that because that's part of me that's winning in that particular way. I don't have to be there too. You know what I mean? It's enough that you all are beautifying and winning at what you're winning at. That's a growth for me too. And that's how we're all contributing to the planet. I mean, when you think about it's pretty dramatic how much music actually really does create human awareness. It's really amazing. Our job is so beautiful, and it doesn't matter that we're not on another planet. We're still doing it, and it's great. And we all know it, we do feel it. And even if we get down from time to time, we always come back to that idea. We are a tribe of humans on the planet. And it's a beautiful thing. And you ladies are just gorgeous.
I'm holding the hands. Shana, for agreeing to join me, and to Cathy, just want to thank you for making a space for us to come.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. My birthday is tomorrow. I'll turn 59 years old.
Oh,
you ladies have helped me like usher in amazing birthday.
Oh,
happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, goddesses. Whenever the planet appears, I'll close my eyes, open them, and I know y'all gonna be there.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Cathy. And thank you, Kate, for making this happen.
Yes.
Pleasure.
And I just want to tell people that you can stay on for a minute. Tomorrow, Michael Abene is on. He's like an incredible composer who's worked in WDR in Germany, the gorgeous orchestra. And also he's worked for the Metropole and arranged for a lot of people. And then Sunday, at least one or two of you know Rebecca Kilgore, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Sunday, Rebecca Kilgore and Tom Wakeling. So Rebecca is just an amazing singer of the Great American Songbook mostly. And her phrasing is to die over. And yeah, she's beautiful. And Tom is her bass player. And so I won't continue on into the next week, but if you want to find out more of who's going to be on, which a lot of great people are, just go to my website and I have it listed. Also Sunday afternoon, Kate, I don't know if you knew about this, but we're having a celebration of life for Dave Mackay.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So Dave Mackay lived in LA for a long time, but he was from West Hartford, and he was a really incredible pianist. And he passed away 2 weeks ago in his late 80s. But so we're going to have a celebration of life at 3:00. I'm going to host a Zoom for him, and it'll be on Facebook as well. So thank you, everybody. Gosh, have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the day, evening. And I'm going to be floating myself. I feel really full.
Me too. Oh.
I feel amazing. My water glass is now going to change to an adult beverage.
I know, that's right.
Okay.
You.
All right, ladies.
Thank you, lovelies.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching. Bye.
Yeah.
Everybody.
With us.
Bye.